It's the sales velocity. It's how quickly the turn rate, how quickly that dollar turns. So an explanation of that is we had a gal who started with $300. She flipped that to grow 36,000 in sales in about a 5-month period. So the question becomes, where else are you going to put your $300 and grow it to $36,000 in sales? And our better sellers get a 50% profit. Where else are you going to do that?
You're listening to Sieg, founder and CEO of the eCommerce Business School. If you're looking for a genuine 6-figure solopreneur business idea with a tiny upfront investment, or you simply want to add another sizable stream of income to your business on near autopilot, today's interview will be very exciting for you. And you'll want to stick around to the very end to find out how I'm personally making money now with Amazon Arbitrage, and how you could too, because Ann is today's guest on Solopreneur Success.
Welcome to the Solopreneur Success Podcast, where successful business owners gather to share true stories and sound advice to help you start and grow your own solopreneur business. Come soar with us and design the life you love. Now, here's your host, Steve Combs.
Hello, solopreneurs. Today I'm interviewing Ann Sieg, the founder and CEO of the eCommerce Business School. And today we're going to talk about how you can make a very good living as a solopreneur through arbitrage in one of the hottest places to sell stuff on earth. And in Ann's case and many of her students, that means millions of dollars in sales. Excited to have this conversation. Ann, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here. Love sharing this information with folks.
Awesome. I'm just going to start really simply by asking for our listeners who may not be familiar with the term, what is arbitrage and what caused you to go into business using it in the first place?
So arbitrage simply means to buy low and sell high and pocket the difference. And arbitrage takes place all over the world. You know, you look at all the different commodities that are out there, and inevitably it's being sold less for somewhere else and sold higher elsewhere. And so what we do in the e-commerce space specifically, where someone can step into the e-commerce space very quickly, is learning how to source in e-commerce means find products at a lower price. And then specifically, we start people through the arbitrage model through Amazon because they have the entire sales funnel built. They've got all the gorgeous customers, etc. But buy low and sell high. So I'll give you a really quick example is one method of arbitrage so that people can understand tangibly how it works is through one method called local retail arbitrage. And what makes this so simple is on your smartphone. I know this isn't being seen right now, but as I talk this through, your smartphone is you can download an app that's been created by Amazon for this sourcing method, and it's called the Amazon Seller app. So you download this app, you got it on your phone. You do have to have an Amazon account as well. That's kind of a different conversation. But basically what happens is you take your phone and you go to Walmart. Now, I live 9 miles right now from downtown Bentonville, and I have sourced directly at their main store right across from their main office at Walmart. And I have my phone out, and I am scanning products with my phone with the Amazon Seller app. And basically, through the camera and through this software, it's going to read the barcode on a product. So I'm holding up a product that's called Burt's Bees. I'm pretty sure everybody is familiar with Burt's Bees. And on the back is a UPC code. And I know for a fact these are sold on Amazon because that's where I buy them. But anyway, so your phone through that app is going to identify, read that UPC code. And what it's looking for through their software is to see if it is on the Amazon catalog, that in their product catalog, in their product offerings. And this is like a microsecond, and you'll feel your phone kind of do a little buzz. It's working. And then boom, it shows the listing. And what it does is it lists all the important data that's important for us as a flipper. We can call ourselves a product flipper. So Amazon is accommodating this. They let you know how fast it's selling, meaning its rank. They show the profit. They show the cost of what it's going to, for you to ship it into an Amazon warehouse. Oh, wait a minute. They show how many sellers. So they are setting up these data points, and there's others that are important. We actually have a card that we send to our members that there's like 12 different factors you want to be aware of. But so basically it's like in real estate. They buy low, they sell high. They don't call it arbitrage. They call it house flipping. There's a lot of TV shows to that effect. It's the same thing, except this is so not about fixing up a product, making it squeaky clean and then shipping it in. You're taking a product off the shelf of a local store like Walmart. You're looking for that price differential. You consider these other factors, and then you ship it into Amazon as an FBA seller, and you make the profit. Does that make sense, or do you have any questions beyond that?
Yeah. Well, number one, I noticed I was pronouncing arbitrage differently than you. and that probably comes because I'm always reading arbitrage, and it's like lazy mouth here. No, open it up and do arbitrage. But yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, getting it to Amazon and it goes to their warehouse, that's really interesting because you can go on Amazon, you can see third-party sellers. When you go shopping on Amazon, everybody pretty much shops on Amazon all the time. They see these third-party sellers. Sometimes they're prime, sometimes they're not. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of different factors that go into that, but I don't want to go too deep in that just yet. What I'd love to hear is what got you down that path to using arbitrage in the first place?
Yeah, it's been kind of a long journey. For one, my two sons had an eBay business when they were in high school and junior high. I had homeschooled, and I was making entrepreneurship very natural because we had owned several different businesses during that time. And it was like, hey, you're going to kind of learn what mom and pop are doing instead of being an isolated activity. We kind of taught them along. And so it was kind of natural that, hey, mom, we're going to start an eBay business. And basically they sold swords, Lord of the Rings, some marine kind of stuff, military stuff. And that lasted for a season, which was great. But basically, I came online in 2004, and I was trying to solve a specific business problem, which was, how do I get more leads? How do I get more prospects and customers coming into my business? And so my son had already gone online. He was starting to study. He said, you should just come online and start learning. So I did. I got in a training company, and basically, I was in the direct sales industry when I first came online. And then subsequent to that, I turned around and taught other people in direct sales, hey, come online. The grass is greener over here. Instead of doing everything offline, come on over here. It's much more scalable. You can build a sales funnel and that whole world. So I taught that for about 7 years, and then was reintroduced back into e-commerce the fall of 2013 by my original coach and mentor from 2004. He said, Ann, check this out. And so I did. I told my husband, I said, this is arbitrage, by the way, from eBay or from Amazon to eBay. And that whole ecosystem changed. We no longer teach with eBay. In any case, I said, so my husband's like, I know, I've still got my eBay account. Let me give it a shot. Within a week, he was selling it into profitability. This is a lot faster than teaching people how to build a whole sales funnel, how to sift and sort prospects. It's more arduous. Over here with Amazon, they've done all the funnel building. So basically, I made the big shift on New Year's Eve day with my current training company I had at that time. I said, check this out, people. So as my inner circle group, and I showed it to them, they all moved forward into that. The results, my students just took off because they understood keywords and they just had a little more foundation relative to understanding the online space, and they just took off. And I haven't looked back since. So it's been 7 years since I shifted into the e-commerce space. And now we hang our hat primarily on Amazon, but we teach beyond that into Shopify. And I have a little saying, to deep blue oceans and beyond. It's inexhaustible, especially now come COVID-19. The water's just got a whole lot deeper and better.
Yeah, because everybody's shopping online now. Nobody's wanting to go to the stores. And even if you can go to the store, some of them have limited hours. They're not open at all. It's been quite the interesting experience for the transition we've seen with the coronavirus going on this year. And I'm certain it's just going to continue to grow the opportunities with anything that's online. And that's across the board.
Across the board.
No exception there. So you kind of alluded to, you had some direct marketing expertise. I'm curious, what kind of direct marketing were you doing prior to all of this e-commerce stuff?
Yes. Okay. Well, in the offline space, basically I started when I was pregnant with my second child, and I did a company that maybe people have heard of called Mary Kay. It used to be a huge direct selling company. Yeah. And basically I was very committed to my motherhood, and I didn't want to be a career woman. I just didn't. I wanted to put my priority with raising our kids. And so I was a gymnastics coach, and I did that career for 15 years, which was evenings and weekends. but I wanted to bring in more income. And so I had been introduced into direct sales. This has been in the brick and mortar or offline world when there was no internet. So I won't give that. But it was just like barely in existence, okay? When I was pregnant with my second child. He's now 32. But I liked it. And so I ended up doing, as if there's any female listeners, they'll be familiar with this, of home parties. So I would do all these different home parties and show the stuff and sell it. I like selling stuff. And I did Avon. It was fun. Avon was so easy because it was such a recognized brand. I didn't even have to try that hard, but it was fun. And I sold Christmas bells when I was 7 years old that I made myself. So I think sales is really fun. And so it evolved to where I got more serious about, okay, this can become a full-time income. I'm going to really go to town with this. And so my son had sponsored me into a company when he was 18. So I just got, when I kind of set my mind to something, I'm going to grow this to 6 figures. Well, I got tapped out in the local market. I just couldn't find more people to talk to about my opportunity. And coming online was bar none the best thing I ever did, because it just, like you say, it didn't just open one world. It's, like I said, e-commerce is to deep blue oceans and beyond. Everyone I know is in the online space is doing really, really well right now because of COVID. So that was 15 years ago that led me to that. And the other part about my makeup is I love teaching. So whatever I'm doing, I just have to naturally turn around and teach. And so that's just kind of my personal wheelhouse. So anyways, it was that direct sales. And I did start the education-based marketing in the offline world by doing health awareness seminars. I saw a gal doing it. I thought, I can do that. My sales became so much easier when I led with valuable education. I didn't even have to sell. I would do these and then they'd all line up wanting to place orders with me. So what I learned in the offline world in that way, which was that whole natural thing of teaching, both my parents are teachers. So I take that into the online world, is teaching sells.
I totally agree, because when you can show the reasoning behind something and it just makes sense and it clicks and there's an emotional hot button in there with logical, credible support, it becomes a no-brainer to take care of fixing the problem or giving the benefit or whatever that sales provides to them.
Yeah.
When they purchase a product or purchase a service. That's just what we do. And you already alluded to the big, deep blue ocean, and you're absolutely right. My business has exploded in coronavirus as well, because I've been online. I've always been virtual since I've been a solopreneur. And I'm just very thankful to be in this position that we can have that. And I know some listeners may be tied to a brick and mortar, might be stuck in a job, and now they're home and they're like, okay, what do I do now? And that's why I was so excited to bring you on the show, because this is really one of those opportunities that you can take and you can run with very quickly, and you can make an income with very quickly. I know you kind of already talked about this a little bit kind of in passing, but how quickly can people really start making an income with arbitrage?
Yeah. And if I'm going to just zoom out a little bit too, in that e-commerce covers such a broad scope, I think this is a really big zoom out global combo I just want to touch on real quickly, is people are going to get exposed to a lot of different methods out there, but they need to have a context of the pros and the cons of, am I in the deep end of the pool right now? Or am I at the beginning phase? And it's generally not discussed in an open, broad way. So I really want to just, because I am going to hone in on arbitrage, but I also want, because we've taught on almost every method, including sourcing from China, is whenever you're making that endeavor and you're adapting and you're like maybe wanting to find that side income, or your brick and mortar, your business is hurting, it's so important that you mitigate that learning curve as much as possible. But you don't know. It's kind of that thing, I don't know what I don't know. So it could, you jump right into the deepest end of the pool, which would be Shopify, because you're going to have to do marketing. You're going to have to learn traffic and conversions. And that's a high level skill set. Or you start in the really shallow end of the pool, right? So I just want to make that context really clear, because that helps to answer your question where you said, how quickly can they? I can't make promises about Shopify happening quickly. That is for certain. And absolutely with sourcing from China, now the variables have shot through the roof. And anytime when you're looking at a business model, the more variables you have in play, the greater your likelihood of risk and the decrease of predictability. So I wanted that to be a big zoomed out conversation, because where we've landed, where we really want to start people with arbitrage, it may not be where they really want to go. That's okay. but you will establish cash flow very quickly, and you will have the opportunity to set it up as an automated business with the mindset from day one. That's a very important conversation to have, because now you can look at it more as a stepping stone if you want it to be. Because you may be saying, no, I really should have my own brand. I should be in Shopify. That's fine. But it's going to be a long learning curve, and you may not get into profitability until you're out, just so you know. Truly, because you're going to have, I know this for a fact because of the learning curve involved. So with arbitrage, the learning curve is much shorter because the level of predictability is so darned high, because you have more data points, and the one who wins the game at the end of the day is the one who knows which are the most relevant data points and how to interpret them. Okay. So with arbitrage, through local retail arbitrage, there's a number of data points you need, but we teach online as well. And the online method is what gives you much more ability to scale. So I'm kind of zooming out on the big conversation because I want people to understand the benefits of what it's going to do for them. And what scale means is you can step into this thing from day one and know, wait a minute, you're telling me I can have this be an automated income? Yes, I am telling you that. And they're like, well, that sounds like a fantasy, because I used to think that too. It's because there's systems and there's teams in place to run those systems for you, albeit you got to do a good job with that, right? So I wanted to say that. But with local retail arbitrage, you can literally be in profitability in 2 weeks. Literally. It happens really all the time. Meaning, and I say 2 weeks because Amazon is a 2-week payout for one. So I can't say day one. Why? Because Amazon only pays out every 2 weeks. But it can mean this, that the very first products that you source and that you ship into Amazon, conceivably, if you go through those requirements correctly, the parameters, it can sell as soon as it hits Amazon warehouse. They scan it, it's sold. In fact, you can be doing local retail arbitrage and you can list that right while you're in the store before you bought the product and have it sold. That's just a little secret tip. So that means it's got to go through the system, and the payout is 2 weeks later. So it is all dependent on your ability to interpret the data and make a smart, savvy business decision that puts you more in the mindset of you're an investor, just like you are in real estate. Sure, you're shopping. What you really are doing is you're taking your dollar bill, and the picture I give it is the mental picture is you're putting a lash to the back of that dollar bill and you're saying, you earn your keep, buddy. And so that dollar bill, the way it earns its keep, and it's known in the retail world, why did I draw a blank on it? It's the sales velocity. It's how quickly the turn rate, how quickly that dollar turns. So an explanation of that is we had a gal who started with $300. She flipped that to grow 36,000 in sales in about a 5-month period. So the question becomes, where else are you going to put your $300 and grow it to $36,000 in sales? And our better sellers get a 50% profit. Where else are you going to do that? Because you want to know, what are my profits? Ours in our community runs from about 28 to, on the low end, to 50%. And there's a reason for the 50%. But so your question was how quickly. Yeah. It can happen in 2 weeks for profitability, not just sales, profitability in 2 weeks.
Gotcha. Of course, I would imagine as a business owner, and you're probably going to want to reinvest those profits so you can grow your base so you can make a larger profit at one time. So that's going to be part of the conversation as well. It's not going to be, okay, I have $300, I just made $18,000 in 5 months. It's not really, you're going to keep $18,000 in your bank account. You're going to reinvest at least some of that. You're going to want to put back into purchasing more products that are going to make you money faster at a bigger balloon rate. I'm just curious, because that's the quickest to profitability. How long would it take somebody to build maybe a mid 5-figure income, do you think is typical or something like that? Just to say as a starting point. I know some people can go much larger than 5 figures, but for kind of like a lot of people could probably leave their job with a mid 5-figure income. So what would that look like as far as time frame?
It's really, that time frame is predicated on how much they can bring to the table from, we'll call it from day one. Can they bring $2,000 a month to invest? Is it, hey, all I got is 300? It's really going to depend on that person. I will say we actually have what's called a profit calculator. It's a really well-built sheet, Google sheet, which then has two different tabs. One is about, so you can see the profitability. The second tab, and that's actually, I'm trying to think, that's in the free gift, is that the reinvestment part. So you can do pretty good calculations of that, but the two variables are, when you talk about the time, it's really first predicated on how much. The person who can plop 10 grand in, oh yeah, really fast. Again, depending on how good a job they do with these parameters that we set up. So example, the sales velocity, which when I interview my top sellers, the one gal has 50% turn rate in a month. That's because, this is really key, she only buys products that are in the 1% category or less. Meaning, okay, so we have this little card that I know you can see, but not the listeners, is it shows the 1% category. That means it's selling insanely fast, probably thousands per day, could even be per hour. So she said, I just don't mess around if it's 5%, in between 1 and 5. That's her decision. Another seller is saying, I'm fine with 5% and less. So it's really that seller who wants to determine, no, I only want to see 3 other sellers that I'm competing with, and it better be in 1% or less. So you have these parameters that you control on your end, albeit the marketplace fluctuates, especially during Q4. But back to your point, it's how much money to put into inventory at the beginning. They're going to get there faster. However, again, they've got to have those parameters. Are they doing a good job? Because the gal who waltzes in with only $300, but man, she is tight with her parameters and she flips her money around faster. Do you kind of see the variances that can happen there?
Absolutely. And I think that's just a given anyways, because not everybody's going to approach business the same way. Not everybody has the same amount of money to invest. And not everybody is going to as faithfully apply the principles of the maximum. But you keep mentioning like 1%, 5%. Can you tell a little bit about what is that actually, that 1%? Is that the top 1% of sold items, or what does that mean?
Yeah. And I apologize, loop back to your question to give a more concrete. We've had people reach 5 figures in 3 months. So, but again, I can't say, oh, Mr. or Mrs. Listener, 3 months, you'll be in the same boat. There's too many variances. Okay, so on to, we call it our guide to category rank. What it means is that Amazon has many different categories, many, and they keep adding new categories. You'll have, so I'm just going to read off real quickly. We've got arts and crafts and sewing is one. There's baby, there's beauty, there's books, there's camera and photo. There's CDs and vinyl, there's cell phone and accessories, clothing, shoes and jewelry, computer. So there's all these categories. What that means in each category, it's not as though uniformly, and every category has 1 million products. Not by any shape or form. For example, household is huge, whereas you have baby is smaller. And so the percent has to do with what are the 1%, what's the quantity, what's the number of 1% or less in baby? So I'm just going to read it aloud from this card, for example. So in baby, there are 102,000 product listings that are in the best 1%, 102,000. Now I'm going to zip down to, I'm going to go to clothing, shoes, and jewelry for contrast. There's 1.6 million products that are in the 1% category and less. So your likelihood of finding a product in the 1% category of clothing, shoes, and jewelry is a lot higher based on sheer volume. There's 1.6 million just that are in the 1% that are selling the fastest is what that means. So 1% of all of that category, that's how many it is. So it's been fun when I have scanned and I found it for number one, where you go, I have found the top moving product. It was the Kind bar for food category, and household, it was right at this time of year, the little Lunchable boxes for going back to school. And so that's kind of like, that means they're selling, it could be 7,000 units an hour. I don't know, but it's a lot. And then you go, oh man, I hope there's not a lot of sellers, because that's another part. That's called competition.
Yeah, it's your supply and demand.
Supply and demand, because people are always like, the gotcha. And I'm like, pretty much have an answer for every gotcha that comes up.
That's exciting. I'm just hearing this, and I'm like, there's so many opportunities. We used to do the same thing back in the day. This is back probably about the time you were getting started also, like 2004. We'd go to like our local like warehouse store. And I remember one time we this was back when we were still using eBay, and it was before Amazon. and we picked up disposable diapers, and we were making a fortune. We bought the entire stock out, and we were just selling it on eBay. It was like crazy money. We were using it, turning around, buying Christmas presents with it back then, and it was awesome. And we just bought the stock and sold it all, and then of course that was the end of that run because we had no more stock. But
yes.
That's exactly what you can do with what you're talking about with Amazon, which is probably the biggest marketplace, at least in the United States, to sell at, and that's just awesome. And you also, in your business, you teach what you call the 3 pillars of e-commerce success, and I'd love for you to maybe touch a little bit about what is that and why are they important?
Generate cash flow, jumpstart your business, and keep it going. We really start with that one because without that, a business can die, right? And I think most people are nodding their heads because you don't want to end up in a situation where you want to quickly evolve out of a situation of you're relying on your family resources, right? That's always a touchy one of how much are you putting in that new business of yours? I don't know that we can do that. So that's a pain point for a lot of people when people are just getting going so we hit that right out of the gate, get that cash flow. That's where arbitrage comes in. They could have that arbitrage business just there running steady Freddy, 20 grand a month, whatever profit that helps them do XYZ with their other business. It can really be seen as just a cash machine, the arbitrage model. The next thing is to automate systems, and that is to create leverage in your business for scale. So that automation, what that affords you to do is to work on your business rather than in it. Because when you're in that business, you're really, as Robert Kiyosaki says, hey, got news for you, you own a business, but you're an S. S means if you don't show up, the business doesn't continue. Right? It's all dependent on you showing up and putting in those hours. So what we teach as a outcome through e-commerce is it's an ultimate business lifestyle type of business that this can run on automation such that pursue what you really want to do. If they want to do that, I'm going to just say, I have people, I love, speaking of solopreneur, they love doing it all and they're hanging on tight to it because they love it. I mean, and we've talked about it. There's nothing wrong with that. But I like to make it so they know the end outcome can be it runs with or without you if you want it. So that's automate systems. And I'm a big believer in systems regardless. And the last is build assets to pass on to family or to sell for profit. And so this is what they're pillars that through e-commerce and even through our arbitrage method, you can check the box on all of them. Sweet, I'm generating monthly cash flow. Sweet, I've got automated systems and a team to run them for me. Sweet, I could actually have someone buy my automated business from me. Check the box. So that way you've got kind of that bigger lens and filter of what the potential outcome of that business model is for someone who's new to business and really doesn't know kind of that end outcome aspect, because that's what's typically asked is, well, what's your end game? I don't know. And which is me too, by the way. So I don't know what the end game is. We'll find out. So, but with this, we structured it that from day one, you can know what that end game can be.
Yeah, I'm really glad you talked about the business equity side of things, because that is something that many solopreneurs and entrepreneurs really kind of gloss over or fail to think about at all. Is you want to have an asset in the end, something that is beyond just you're putting in the hours, because otherwise, what are you? You're just an employee putting in the hours without unemployment benefits if something happens. So you want to grow a business, not just a job for yourself. And I think that's such an important point. I'm really glad you brought that up. I would like to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about something that's probably a little less comfortable, but there's always risk in any business model. What's the risk with arbitrage? I mean, I know you used to do eBay, like I used to do eBay, or actually my wife really did the eBay stuff, but you shifted because there was a change there in a marketplace. So what kind of risk do you see in arbitrage, and how would you overcome those?
The risk would be more sellers can jump in on a listing that when, and this is something you learn as you go, but in the big scheme of things, it's not like a game over, like getting a Google slap, as an example. It would be where when you are having your product vetted, for which when you do it in the online method, through our automation, that happens because you're able to outsource overseas to a country, I should say, called the Philippines. And there's thousands of them who, that's one of their national exports is their virtual assistants is what we call them. And they service tens of thousands of Amazon sellers. There's a massive industry that has been built around the third-party seller Amazon platform. It's a massive ecosystem. with money points all along the way. And so the VAs do that part. So I'll just say relative to that risk, and I'm just saying that they do that grunt work for you of vetting online. And we have this special spreadsheet software tool that our members use, et cetera. But it can be, so like this would be kind of, whoa, wait a minute. When I first sourced it, I only saw 3 sellers. And this is the thing that can change. And it's when the marketplace is more volatile. So it got very, very volatile during Q4. And then where it also historically every year without exception, we know it gets very, very volatile in the Q4 selling season. So I was sourcing some Barbie dolls that they have this limited edition that comes out. It's the 2020 Barbie doll. So I buy a bunch of these Barbie dolls and there's other people who are doing this who also jumped on it, other third-party sellers. And when I first scanned and looked, it was like, there's only 7. That won't be a problem. Then I ship it in a week later. Oh man, now there's 20. So in that scope, it's knowing how to ride it out, whether you drop, it's called a race to the bottom. So I'm talking big picture. And all these things we teach and train on, but it's kind of it doesn't always stay the same, man. No, it doesn't. There's times of the year it's more volatile than others. So our master trainer, he's heading into his 12th Q4 selling season as an Amazon seller. So a veteran knows a whole lot more of what can happen, just like in real estate. There's things that happen in the real estate industry. Someone who's been in there 30 years can run circles around someone who's less experienced. Let me just tell you, that happened 15 years ago, and here's what we did. So that's one that can happen there. Actually, and then 2, this idea of like saturation or competition, because that was my number one concern when we shifted 7 years ago. I'm like, the shelf life online, it's so terrible. And digital marketing info product, man, your shelf life, 3 to 6 months, you're lucky. And that was my expectation. And so I'm just saying that this is where I thought there was going to be a hurdle. And it's been anything but that. And I was like, why? Because Amazon's so darn big. But I thought for sure we were going to get what's called offer fatigue in just becoming an Amazon third-party seller. There's going to be a fatigue, because that's what I've seen 15 years being online. This fatigues and that fatigues and this fatigues. It's only accelerated. But that was one of my biggest objections as an internet marketer. So that didn't happen. But specific to arbitrage, there's just so much opportunity, and finding those little honeypots, which I want to give a teaching point of what you can do to create leverage off of the arbitrage model. And how it creates a natural springboard is you find the hot selling, for example, is princess dive sticks. Little girls who love to swim in the pool. We found these at Target, and we sold a ton of them. It's princess, whatever, I don't know the Disney characters, Little Mermaid. And they dive down to grab their dive stick, and it's a game, it's fun. And I thought, that could become a private label product. It wouldn't be Disney, because that's what you're riffing off, is that brand, so to speak. But it does speak to, there's a lot of volume of dive sticks. I had no idea. My kids were past that stage but it can allow you to then bridge over into wholesale, because the arbitrage experience speaks to you and says, there's more here. This honeypot's a little bit bigger than you thought. I'm trying to think what did you say, risk with arbitrage?
Yeah. One thing I thought of was, because you're also on a third-party platform, Amazon, you don't have control over. They could change the rules on you. I think that might be one of the kind of risks somebody might think about. What kind of changes have you seen over the years with them in that regard? Okay,
there has been one that was fairly significant this spring, the biggest one in our 7 years, which was because of the deluge of orders coming through Amazon. And there's a distinction. There's merchant fulfilled, where you're shipping it to the customer. FBA is where you're shipping into the Amazon warehouse, and they take over from there. So with this particular ruling and how it impacted us, if you want to call it negative, because there was so much spillage effect, they narrowed it down to the 5 essential categories, meaning you maybe had toys. Yeah, sorry, we're not accepting those right now. You got food went huge, because people started buying their food online rather than in the local stores. It was baby, it was pet, food, of course. I don't remember, it was household. There were 5 categories. And so it's like, darn, I've got inventory that I was going to ship in my toys. I can't do that right now. We immediately, almost from day one when that news came out, we're going to put out some merchant fulfilled training. We did it on our We have a Facebook page. It's just free open information. It would call it a goodwill public service that all Amazon sellers, if you're FBA and you're in a world of hurt right now, come listen to our training. God bless, use it and help out your Amazon business. And our sellers just kept right on cruising because they learned to do merchant fulfilled, even though we pretty much teach them FBA because you're in a favored position to end up in the buy box. But because things were so huge on Amazon, people were still looking for toys, especially because kids were home now. How do I keep them occupied? Oh, I'll order Legos, blah, 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 whatever. And so our people were able to keep on trucking by going merchant fulfilled. So we overcame it that way. We thought they were getting stricter with people even being accepted to become an Amazon third-party seller. But no, when you sign up, there are these parameters. We have a little starter course called Amazon Basics. And basically what it is this. Amazon deals with millions of people. Follow our instructions to the T, or it's going to come back a mismatch. You didn't submit the whatever XYZ. So we have a special group page that's devoted to people rush through that sign-up process and didn't pay attention to, it's highly specific. That's one thing with Amazon. You don't get to, let me do this black hat thing, or I don't think I really need to do that. Or they say to ship it like that, but we could do peanuts instead. No. Amazon is all about creating a standardized experience for their customers, period. End of story. So whatever Amazon says and what they wanted that experience to be, you line up behind that because you're serving their mission, which is they're 100% customer-centric. But the sign-up process, we have very, very few mistakes with our people because we're so on it. I'm trying to think, there's been IP infringement and trademark, people selling something that is prohibited. So our sellers, we're so on it that we're able to help people very quickly. And when we see something that starts to become a common experience, we're teaching on it like that. So we're seeing, like, for about 4 years ago, there was a big rash of suspensions. Yeah, people were loosey-goosey. They weren't following the rules. So we always line up right behind their rules. And if someone runs into a deal, we'll look into it further. Well, here's what you did wrong, honey.
Yeah,
and
that's why it's in everybody's best interest to follow the rules, because that's for the customer's benefit, and that's for your benefit, and it's for Amazon's benefit, as long as you know what they are. And I know that Amazon places those out there. I'm kind of a reader kind of person, and my wife kids me because when I bought our first car seat, I read the entire manual before I put it in the car. This is who I am. I read everything. I know nobody likes to read, at least a few people like to read like I do, but take the time to do it and make sure you're following the steps, because that's going to help you, whether it's Amazon Arbitrage or whatever it is, it's going to help you know what the business is and what the parameters are, and you're going to be better off. I want to talk about sourcing methods. You told me a little bit before our conversation today that there's different sourcing methods and there's different pros and cons to them. And I've been loving this conversation. I know we're probably going a little bit long, but I don't care if you don't care. Sourcing methods. How do you get to products and what matters as far as what you pick on how you source them?
Yeah. So just a range starting at the beginner level is arbitrage. Then typically it's wholesale, where you're like, well, this is kind of sweet. I mean, I bought 100 of this and I sold them all, but man, I wish I could just buy them in bulk and keep it going. And that's just a natural, organic thought process that anyone who's selling, I mean, I didn't have to really think about it. It was just like, wow, these are selling like crazy. Instead of me dependent on the supply through Target or Walmart, et cetera, I should go directly to the wholesaler. So that would be the next. There's also liquidation. Liquidation, we have trained at ASD Market Week. It's the largest consumer good trade show in the US. And part of their platform is there is a day for liquidation. And I think it's the day before the trade show actually starts. If I recall, it's a 5-day event. And so there's liquidation. There's a science to that. I mean, you got to make sure that there's actual demand for the product. And too often people go by, it's so cute. No, God bless the women who think it's cute. It reminds me of when I was sourcing it was Walmart, and on clearance, they had this, to me, the most hideous looking purse. And I'm sure it was made for little girls. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so gaudy. That is so ugly. These sequins, you gotta be kidding me. It's gotta have a really bad ring. Oh no, it's not selling. Never judge a product, but you just never know. But on the whole, we go by what do the numbers tell you? And there's product research that you can do in advance. And this is why, starting with arbitrage, you're starting to become number-centric. You have to. The arbitrage method is totally on that. When you go to wholesale, you're now starting to really study keywords. what is driving people to that product listing? It's keywords. But it's a multivariate situation. It's what are the reviews? Are they 5-star? For example, if you're evaluating a product, one of the criteria is how many stars do they have? Oh, 3? Pass on that. You want 4 and 5 because that's going to be part of your actual seller performance rank is, oh, we see that a lot of your products are getting returned. Buying products with 3-star review. No, you don't do that, right? So because you're being gauged, there's all these algorithms going on behind Amazon's platform. And part of it is you're getting ranked by your seller performance. And if you're bringing cruddy products into their marketplace, it's going to reflect on you. And you're not going to show up in the buy box as much as a result. Anyways, so back to that, as you go wholesale, then it's private label. And with each subsequent method that you move up into, so private label, you think, yeah, this time I'm going to own it. And, when I do white label with wholesale, when the people come in and riff off of my concept, I know I'll do bundled offers and that'll help mitigate that, which is true. And that's a whole different, I wouldn't call that a sourcing method. It's just a way to have greater ownership of your own listing is a product bundle. Like back to school, you'll put together like 5 different products and they're all sourced from someone different. No one else is going to repeat that. And if they do, and product listings, then you go to private label. Here's the challenge with private label. I'm not opposed to it, but the pros and cons. The pro is, yes, you're going to own the listing. You start to get greater control. And I always teach people, ultimately, you want to end up with as much control in your business as possible. So see Amazon as just a traffic source. That's how I look at it. It's a traffic source. You can use it as a springboard of it gives me all this gorgeous data. And now I'm going to go to Shopify. Because you should look at Amazon as it grooms you up to be they will train you real good. They will train you, and there's nobody who can compare to the gold standard of Amazon to train you to be a good e-commerce seller. Then you can take that hard-earned knowledge, and then you're going to go be far better equipped when you go to Shopify. So just kind of that bigger picture view of Amazon. But private label, where it can go wrong is when you made the determination of that product off of all your data, is let's say you did in January. Let's say you did it in the fall of last year. And then along comes COVID. And, you're going to have your supply chain in China. Oops. It's not just COVID. I saw that when there are dock strikes in LA. When I was sourcing a product from China, this is like in 2014, stuck on the ships because the people on the dock were having a labor strike. And I couldn't get my product. And pretty much it just went nowhere. It flatlined. It went on for months. Then that product wasn't popular anymore. So basically there's more risk. The more variables there are, the more for things to go wrong. And so all that energy you put into your private label can go cattywampus or it can go big. There's just a greater range of variance for it to flop or win. There is another method, print on demand, which we also teach that. Here's the cool thing about print on demand. And there's pros and cons to it. Print on demand is, the beautiful thing is you do not put a single dime into inventory, nothing. The way it works is it's all built upon keywords and listings. So you're paying for, and in this case, and we teach systems, so your VAs are putting up these new designs and you're testing them on Amazon. It's practically free. You're just testing, you might do some sponsored ads. And, this teacher's mug really takes off, okay? But your fulfillment of that mug doesn't happen after you transact the sale. So you're getting the money first, then you place the order with the fulfillment, the print-on-demand shop. They're creating your custom design and shipping it off. But the con in that business model is getting it right and finding what's going to sell fast. So, for example, you can leverage a political season, and it can be really, 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 really lucrative. You get that one mug with that one little saying, that one little tweet, the one little whatever, and man, you just sold 1,000 of them. But it doesn't have anywhere near the predictability or sustainability of arbitrage. So, but you can do well, right? So that one, you don't have that big cash outlay, but it carries a higher level of sophistication of you're going to run your business model off of keywords, paying attention to the news, and a lot of testing. Arbitrage doesn't take any testing at all. There's zero testing. All you're doing is jumping into the river where the salmon are jumping and the bears are eating the salmon. That's all you're doing is the waterfall is gushing. Here, let me put in my cup and I'll take 10,000 a month out of that gush of stuff. It's already selling. You're just tapping into it. Print on demand isn't so easy that way. And then sourcing China is obscenely complex. My son is a sourcing agent in China, but that whole supply chain has gotten very interesting. And then there's Shopify, which I would just say you're going to have to realize you're going to have to go through the learning curve of understanding how to generate traffic and converting that into sales and have it be profitable. And that's not a very easy thing to do.
Yeah, of course, I know the flip side of that is with the solopreneurs who I work with, you're going to need to figure that out one way or another in most businesses anyways. So this could still be a very viable model, and you could start easy with arbitrage. And I think, one of the questions I had for you is, what's the easiest and fastest and most foolproof method to get started in e-commerce? And it sounds like that's kind of what the answer is. But is that right? That would be the answer. Arbitrage.
Hands down, it's Amazon. Arbitrage. Because it mitigates, you don't have to worry about keywords. You don't have to worry about funnels. None of that. That's all gone. You don't even really have to figure out what's the new product what's going to be the whiz-bang winner. I saw this Pooper Scooper up for dogs that I just know could be better. I know it could. Okay. Or are you going to sell something like this that they're already selling thousands of every single day, as long as it's profitable, et cetera, and meets all the other parameters? Arbitrage is just so simple and fast and easy. We know because we taught all these methods. That's just where it lands.
This has been really a tremendously fascinating conversation. I've loved this conversation. And I want to mention to our listeners that Ann has a complete training course, literally a complete training course available for free to you to listen to, not just listen to, watch. And I was impressed because usually you get a free gift and it's like you get a 4-page PDF that's like half of its pictures. This is not the case here. We're talking hours of video-based training on exactly how to make great money with arbitrage. And you could get started today for free. Doesn't cost you a thing. Just use the training that Ann's provided. I think it's extremely generous. I was telling her before we actually started the official podcast interview here that I was just really impressed and how generous she's been. And like she says, and I'm in agreement, is that it makes sense to give your best and educate people. And you talked about that earlier when you educate on health, and it just makes sense to people to buy the product. Well, here's the thing. Ann is an expert. She's been doing this for years, and she's offering you this gift for free. I'm going to put the link in the show notes. I'll go ahead and say it here, but that's okay, Ann. www.joinebs.com/solopreneur. And I will put that link in the show notes, but make sure you go there and get this free. This is literally a 5-video training course that you can just take your time and go through it, follow the steps, and learn exactly how to do arbitrage. And if you need more help, Ann's company is really the pros at doing this. Is why I'm having her on the show today, because you'll learn so much to get started, and then she'll help you take it to the next level. And that's why I'm sure she gives this away. I was like, again, I'm still blown away that there's this much value for free. It's not common. And I just want to encourage you, if you have any interest in arbitrage, to take advantage of that incredible free offer she has. It's a complete course right there. And just grab it. So, Ann, thank you so much for offering this very generous gift to our listeners. And I've really enjoyed our conversation. Where can they find you and learn more about you and your business?
eCommercebusinessschool.com. joinebs.com is the short, the redirect to it. Because I always have to look, did I type in 3 S's? But anyways, eCommercebusinessschool.com or joinebs.com will take you directly to our homepage.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ann, for being here today.
It's my pleasure. I'm thrilled to share this information.
Thank you for listening to the Solopreneur Success Podcast. We hope you discovered valuable advice on how to start and grow your own successful solopreneur business. If you liked the podcast, you'll love the all-new Solopreneur Success Connections community at solopreneurcoach.com. Here you'll get exclusive access to our private, members-only community of business builders, free business building resources, and live online monthly training designed to accelerate your business success. Join us now at solopreneurcoach.com.
Hey solopreneurs, it's Steve Combs again. As you probably noticed, I'm so new to arbitrage I didn't even know how to pronounce it right at the start of this interview. A couple weeks ago, Sieg and Brian Cummings, who is Ann's Director of Training and Coaching, delivered an outstanding free training session for members of my Solopreneur Success Connections community. Now, not only did Ann explore the opportunity with us there, she gave away totally free her complete 5 Steps to Amazon Retail Arbitrage course to attendees. Many are using that exact course to make very good money right now, but she also gave a very generous, exclusive discount to get into her online shopping profit system. That's where Ann and her team guide you step by step through sourcing great products online cheap and then resell them for very nice profits on Amazon. I know, we all thought Amazon is the cheapest place to buy. Not so. Personally, I was so impressed by Ann and her team, I also took advantage of her discounted offer to join her online shopping profit system and community myself. I'll tell you right now, Ann and her team are the real deal, and their courses and support are to thank for the results I'm already seeing in just 2 weeks. I jumped in with both feet just 2 weeks ago and have already learned how to set up my Amazon seller account, source great products with high profit margins, get them into Amazon's fulfillment centers, or sell them direct to consumer. I'm doing them both. And right now, I already have my products listed in Amazon's coveted buy box in some listings, and others that will be once they arrive at Amazon's warehouse. And they're not exotic finds either. I'm buying and reselling stuff like slippers and toothbrushes, Bluetooth headphones, and things like that for a handsome 50% or higher profit. I'm telling you all this because you could easily do this too. As a listener of this podcast, Ann has graciously allowed me to give you the same free 5 Steps to Amazon Retail Arbitrage course as our members, and the same exclusive discount on the online shopping profit system. So you may be asking, why get both? Because you get their hands-on support and some incredible tools with the online shopping profit system. These are huge time savers, worth every penny of the small price she's asking for them. Now, I want to be fully transparent. I've also signed up as an affiliate for the eCommerce Business School. But I'd recommend Ann's programs even if there were no affiliate relationship because they're truly that good. I'm using her courses and her team support right now to build yet another healthy income stream for my business, one that in the near future will be mostly automated. So if you're at all interested in exploring this opportunity to make money on near autopilot with Amazon, Ann's programs come with my highest recommendation. You'll find the links to get both the free 5 Steps to Amazon Retail Arbitrage course and the exclusive Solopreneur Success discount on her online shopping profit system course on the show notes page at solopreneurcoach.com/030. And I didn't even mention the free bonuses Ann is throwing in when you get her paid course. I'll let you see those for yourself when you go to her link. Again, you'll find all those things along with the show notes at solopreneurcoach.com/030. That's all for today, so until next time, I'm Steve Combs, the Solopreneur Coach, and I thank you for listening.